Great. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on here. Um, Here we go. Welcome everyone that's here. Hope you can hear me. I'm late. Trina Powell and Deb Ludwig and I are going to moderate this Zoom here. We have several folks joining us this evening. We're going to discuss basic filing, campaigning, and commitments of running and being in a public office. We'll try not to keep you long. And thank you for joining in the civic engagement. I would encourage you to put your email in the chat box, and we will be sending out a packet with information, basic filing information from the county clerk and some links to really great resources. So put your email information in the chat and we will get it. If you have questions, please raise your Zoom hand and we will get to you. Okay. The first here is we're going to look at the filing deadline is June 1st, 2021 at noon. June 1st, 2021 at noon. Open positions, and this is for the election November 2nd, 2021. So I'm going to say this 100 times. June 1st, 2021 at noon. We've got a little slide here with the open positions. We're going to look at school board first. 388, which is Ellis, is elected. There's three positions for 4 years. USD 432, which is also Victoria, 3 positions for 4 years. And 489, which is what we're going to talk about. Does everyone see my kid in the background? Anyway, okay, sorry, you guys. And 489 is 3 positions for 4 years. The filing fee is $20 or 50 signatures of registered voters. I would encourage everyone, if you're going to file, to do the $20 filing fee. If you want to collect signatures, I think that's a fine way to engage people, but I think I would also take the $20 filing fee with me when it's time to file. So we're going to go to the Ellis County Clerk has this filing information on their website. It's something also I would like to put in the email that I send you all. So the packet for the city and the school board are the same packet. It's the city school filing packet. So we've got a little slide here that shows the forms to fill out for school board and city commission. So you will want to complete the following forms, part of this packet, and return them to the Ellis County Clerk's office at 718 Main by June 1st, 2021. I recommend not waiting to the last minute to look at these forms or fill them out because it will take a bit of time, but not too long. So the first form is the candidate's declaration of intentions. It's Kansas Secretary of State Form CS. You want to complete the form and take the form to the clerk's office and sign it in front of the clerk or the person she tells you to sign it. Not the district court clerk, the Ellis County clerk. Bobby Dreiling is her name. So you'll sign that form in her presence. The second form is the statement of substantial interest for local office, KSA 75 4301A. The statement of substantial interest is if you own business interests, it's about your spouse's interests. Some people this isn't even applicable to. So you'll want to take some time and look at that form and decide if that's something you need to complete. The third form is the appointment of treasurer. You'll want to appoint someone, a trusted friend, someone in the community, whoever you'd like to be your treasurer. The final form is the exemption certificate. That's under KSA 25904. This must be filed if you're going to be $1,000 or less. I recommend probably filing this exemption certificate as part of the packet. And if someone gives you $1,200, then you can always go back and file the necessary reports to report that money that you've received and spent. So go ahead and probably file or fill out that exemption certificate and get it filed. Filing fee requirements. The filing fee again is $20 payable at filing. For the school board, you can do the 50 registered signatures. For the city commission, you must pay the $20 fee. There's no gathering of signatures. So $20 payable at filing with or without your petition for with 50 people for the school board. Hayes municipal elections are considered nonpartisan. That means there's no R or D behind the name. You must be registered to vote in Ellis County and reside in the district you will serve. Kansas school boards consist of 7 elected members, and all unified school districts are responsible for education for children K through 12. Many districts include cooperatives and special groups that handle special education across several districts. A couple resources also that I'd like to email with this packet would be from the League of Kansas Municipalities. It's a candidate guide, and it's about running for office, information on office, the election process, and it's a really, really great resource. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Luke O'Borney, a former USD 49 school board member, and he's going to visit a bit about the time commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Luke O'Borney. I have served on school board for 1 term. It was roughly 2 years ago now. Time commitment is really going to be a lot about variables. You know, some of those variables are going to be the type of board you have. If you have a board that you don't get along with as much, and there's a lot more debate and discussion, some of those meetings are going to run a little bit longer. A lot of other variables I look at is what I call volunteer. You know, sometimes people may want to serve on an additional committee or negotiations. That's going to take up more time, you know, but it isn't something you have to do. Getting on school board, it's not something they usually put you on in the first year or 2, because it's just more work and it's interesting, and you got to kind of learn the ropes a little bit. There can be a lot of special meetings that can, again, tie into the board and the situation, what you may have going on. And those are always usually scheduled around your specific needs. I mean, they'll send out a request and say, hey, we'd like to meet Friday morning. You know, are these times available? Maybe 7:30, or maybe right after work, or something else. But there's some additional time for that. The only other thing that I could think of as far as time for variables would be a lot of it is stuff you may choose or choose not to do. You know, some of the other activities that I was involved in was like the Learning Center always had their graduations on the same night we had school board meetings. It just meant I had to show up 30 minutes early, you know, and I always thought that was a neat thing to be a part of. Trying to think of other little things, you know, in the schools. If there was ever something I could be invited to or be a part of, I thought it was nice to be a part of that. Didn't help me get reelected, so I don't know. Maybe it's not the best advice to give you, but it really is kind of a variable thing. It's really based on your time. Meetings are typically every 2 weeks. Typically they start roughly around 6:30, and for the most part they were done around 9. Occasionally you get a wild card, and sometimes you'd be there till 10:30 or 11, but for the most part that was kind of the expectancy. Is there any questions about any of that or what's expected?
I have a quick question. I think, you know, we're recording this, so I want to get out as much information. How often do you meet, and do you have any planning sessions during those periods?
Sure. So again, it might be a little different, and Alan may be the one to say this is, you know, my term would be a little bit different. But when we first started, we had every 2 weeks, and 1 week was a planning session, and the next week was stuff we took action on. We found that didn't work real well to get bills and stuff taken care of, so we kind of put the kibosh on that, and every meeting was really more of a formal type meeting. What we typically had was the newer business, the stuff we were hearing for the first time, we didn't necessarily vote on that night. It was just, this is the first time we're processing this information. So that's kind of our work session type part of it. And then we'd maybe vote on it the next week. Then we would look at those things. Okay, so we've had a week to process, to ask questions, to gather information, to do everything else. And then we'd make a vote on that following week, or the next 2-week meeting we had. And that was just at the end of my term. That's what we had adopted and worked really pretty well. I haven't really been following up. Maybe Alan could fill in whether they're still doing that, or if they've made a change and found a more efficient process.
Okay, I think that was very, very helpful. Thank you, Luke. We're going to move on now to Alan Park. He's a current USD 49 board member, and he's going to talk about, I call it doing your homework, just knowing about what's going on in the community and the schools. So Alan, thanks for joining. I'll let you visit.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Alan Park, and I have been, this is starting my second year as a school board member. I have served in the district for 31 years as a teacher and as an administrator. And my kids, I've had about 26 years straight, continuous years of kids in school. And so I've been in a lot of the schools, so have some experience that way. But one of the main things, and can everybody hear me okay? I'm assuming that people can hear me.
We're hearing
I
you
can hear
very
you.
well, thanks.
Loud and
Okay,
clear.
great.
Come through loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Some of the things that one of the first things, if you're thinking about going into the school board, would be attend the meetings. That's doing your homework, getting to see the different things that are happening at the school, how the process and the meetings are handled and how they're go through. So, and you're starting to understand what happens in this board meeting. So attend those meetings even before the election and definitely after the election. But to get a good broad information about how the school board works. And you learn so much about the district just being at the meeting. The other thing is that take a look at the board policy. They're on the website. And that's one of the main things that we do as a board is that we're supposed to ensure the accountability, the consistency and fairness of the policy and to make sure. So we change those occasionally, but it's very important that you are familiar with those and they're on the website, like I mentioned. So that's something to really take a look at. Also, there's a lot of resources out there. And the Kansas State Department of Education, the Kansas Association of School Boards, those are all very important resources for you. And when you become a board member, you will have a login and member. But before you even become a board member, you can get on those sites and learn so much. They have videos, they have training, they have things that you can look through to find out more information if you're thinking about running for the board, or once you get on the board, all kinds of things. There's things like that's very important to your homework on COMA, which is the Kansas Open Meetings Act. That is something that you should really be aware of and make sure that everyone's held to that standard. And those are things that we really need to look at. Also, like Luke was talking about with the time is attend activities besides in the school district. If you're part of the site council, go to site council meetings. Those are things that you need to be aware of. Educators and education is notorious about acronyms. And so becoming familiar, of course, BOE, Board of Education, but then it goes to things that are real important like KISA. What does that mean? KASB, the Kansas Association of School Boards. You hear those things all the time. IEPs, things that are thrown out all the time. And it's almost like another language. So it's important that you be familiar with those things. There's no way that you're going to know all of them, but it's important to be familiar with those types of acronyms that are popped up all the time by educators who do presentations. They'll say those things, and you'll just get more out of those presentations if you are familiar with those. The other thing is that there's a lot of information, like Luke said, there's normally two meetings a month. Sometimes there's one, but and then you have work sessions, and but there's a lot of information, and we have a 3-day right now. Ours is 3 days, so you'll get them usually Thursday afternoon late, and so you have Friday and the weekend to be familiar with those things and to talk to people if you need to get some things clarified, or if you need to talk to the school board president. If you have something you want to talk to him about, that's something that you can do. But it's almost like going back to school in some ways, because there's so much out there. I've had a lot of experience with education, but I have still so much to learn. And just being my second year of the board, I don't feel like there's always things that come up that you're learning. And so it's important to know that that's going to be an expectation is to be able to familiar with the information that is given to you as a board member, as a packet, look it over in advance. One of the things, you can't wait till the last minute because there's just too much information. Just can't, there's not enough to possibly do it in an hour before the meeting. So that's real important. Is there any questions for anything? Oh, one other, go ahead. Well,
You go ahead.
you might be wondering about board development. There is training, and the KSB provides a lot of that, and it is totally fine. And the school district pays for that training, and so you won't have to worry about that. Do I have to spend a lot of money to get that training? It is provided for you, and there's usually you just request a lot of different things. There might be something that you're interested in, like negotiations. That is something that is, if it's not required, it is strongly suggested that you get that training before you take on that responsibility or that a committee. But those are things that are available. There's a new board in service that they put on. It's usually maybe an evening, 3 or 4 hours. That's really good. They also have they haven't with the pandemic, but they have a great state conference that's really good. That's a 2 or 3 day event, and that's something that is paid by the school district.
I'm just curious, Alan and Luke both. I assume bond issue is one of the biggest issues that the board is concerned about. But what else? Pandemic. What else is really high on the board's radar here at 489, at least right now?
Well, those two are definitely the top. Whether we do a bond issue or not, what do we do with our existing facilities? That is an opportunity that may come up in the near future. Committees to talk about those things. And so if you're interested in being on the board, that'd be a great opportunity to be a step ahead, because you've heard some of the information that some of the patrons have put out. Pandemic, hopefully we've been going through this whole year doing face-to-face, and that's been something that we should celebrate as we draw to a close of a year. But those were the two main ones for sure. But there's always things that come up, hiring new staff members. This is a time that we're really doing a lot of that. And that's an important piece, is getting good staff, good qualified staff members. And just curriculum is another one that is one of our big responsibilities. But those are the things that are presented. And whether we hire, do we need to add more kindergarten teachers? Do we need to move them now? Those are all decisions that administration get the information to us, and we help with those decisions. And you never know. There might be something new that we don't even know about yet that will pop up. So that's one thing that makes it very interesting, is that it's never the same. It's never boring. There's always things that come up that it's an important job that needs caring individuals that care about kids and really want to make our district better.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was really good. And you'd answered my question, which was about board development. It seems to me there's a lot of, financial things over the years when you read about the school board. It seems there's a lot of really big thought things. So, Alan, thank you. We're going to move on to Kathy Romy from the KNEA. She's going to talk about the best way that we can support teachers, not only as board members, but just in general. So Kathy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So as Trina said, I'm Kathy Romy. I am what's called the UNICEF director for the Kansas National Education Association. There's another one of those acronyms. So I work with teachers. In other words, I work with the local associations, or the union, if you want to refer to it at that. So I don't know if we have any Victoria people on tonight, but we do have a local association in Victoria. And then of course the Hayes NEA. So those are just two of my 40 some locals that I work with. So, so I just want to start out. It's been a tough year for teachers. It's been ever since we shut down a year ago, March, it's just been tough. The teachers have worked really hard. It's also been tough for students. Those of you that have children know that it was difficult last year trying to teach them remotely. And so just schools in general. And, you know, I understand it's also been very difficult for parents, for businesses, for communities. Just been a tough time. So on this National Teacher Day today, I would just shout out to the teachers that are on. I don't know that we have too many, but just a shout out to the teachers. There's Christy for sure. And anybody that might be listening to the recording later that is a teacher. So shout out to teachers, both local and around the state, because they work hard day in and day out. And, you know, the thing about public schools is we don't get to discriminate or pick and choose our students. We work with students that come through the door, no matter, you know, what they are, kids, young adults, no matter what stage they are. So again, thank you to all the teachers that are listening or will be listening, and just know that we appreciate you. So Trina has asked me to talk a little bit about how you can support your teachers. I'm kind of focusing it on as a possible school board member. You know, I can talk in general also, but so I've just got a few notes here. I just wrote down a few bullets. I think the first way as a possible school board member you can support your teachers is to educate yourself on the issues. Do your homework, as Alan just spoke to. Do not necessarily believe that all the information that you receive from the district and the superintendent and the board president is always complete, because it's not always complete. So do your homework, make sure that you educate yourself on the issues. Number two, make sure you delve into and understand the budget. And, you know, as a school board member, that's not always fun. It's not easy, but you base your decisions that you make on the school budget. So try to learn about it, ask questions, work with the superintendent or the finance in Hayes. You know, there is a finance position. Work with that person to understand the budget. There's also Dale Dennis, who those of you that are familiar with the State Department of Ed, he was our finance guru. He was amazing. He has retired now, but every summer the State Department of Ed puts on a budget workshop. So as a board member, go to those budget workshops. I know I encourage teachers and bargaining teams to go to that in the summer. So make sure you delve into the school budget. Number three, be aware of and be an active part of the committees that are in the district. As Alan said, you know, we know you don't have time to be on every committee, but you should definitely be aware of when those committees are meeting, what it is that they are focusing on, just what's happening in those committees. Just a couple examples, and I know there's probably all kinds of committees that Hayes has, but one is the Health Insurance Committee. That's extremely important because the health insurance that the district offers affects a lot of employees and a lot of families of employees. The Calendar Committee, to set the calendar and events like that. Another one that Alan mentioned, the bargaining team. It's extremely important for all the board members to know what's going on with the bargaining and the bargaining team. And yes, it is legal for all the board members to go to a bargaining session. Those are open public meetings, bargaining sessions are, unless you do something called IBB, which is interest-based bargaining. You may have some ground rules that it is a closed meeting, but otherwise it's an open public meeting. Anyone from the community, any teacher, any board member can go. Now, you know, sometimes board members are concerned about the majority of board members there. As long as you are not going into the caucus or being an active participant, board members above the majority can sit in the audience and be observers, just like teachers can. It's important for school board members to hear the concerns of teachers and the discussion that takes place from both sides at a bargaining session. So I always encourage all the board members to attend those. Another one is to visit the schools. Go out and this has been kind of hard with the pandemic because I know they haven't been letting visitors and volunteers in, but when we get back to normal, whatever the new normal is, be visible to the teachers and get out there and really see firsthand what is happening, the teaching and the learning that's going on in those classrooms. Because I think as school board members, you'll be amazed at the wonderful teachers that we have and the wonderful things that are happening in those classrooms. And it is so important to teachers to see the school board members, to have them come and say hi and just see what's going on in their classroom and, ask how things are going. So, and on that note, I think it's important for school board members to be open to talking to and listening to the teachers. Listen to their concerns. Don't be afraid to, take emails, phone calls, set up meetings with teachers and listen to what it is they have to say. Another point is to be open-minded and look at all sides of the issue. And, to do that easier and better, just being educated and being informed and doing your homework will make that a lot easier. But be open-minded and take it all in before you make your decision. And I think one of the last points is don't be afraid to talk with the union. Don't be afraid to talk with me or to talk with the leaders of the local association. Ask questions. Ask for the union's interpretation of how do they interpret the way something is or something in the negotiated agreement. I appreciate the board members that take time to email me, to call me, and just talk with me about our perspective as teachers, how we see things as compared to maybe how the board members see things. It's important to remember we all have the same goals, and that is to work for what is best for our students, for our teachers, and for our schools in our community. So we're all in this together. So that's why I think it's extremely important for the board members and the union to have that open communication. So I want to thank any of you that are considering putting your name in to file. I encourage you to do so. And I encourage you, if you have any questions for me, I'm going to give you my telephone number. That's my cell number is 785-259-1456. And I encourage you to give me a call or send an email to me, and I would be happy to talk with you more about specific issues. But those are just some of the main points, I think, on how a school board member could support teachers. Any questions?
Kathy, that was really, really very informative. It's very good information. And I do know a couple people that aren't here with us tonight that are very interested in running. So we're going to have them watch this. So let's, I just kind of want to touch on some basics of running a local campaign. I feel like that's kind of a big sticker for some people. So Eber, you've run for city commissioner before and know about municipal elections. I'd like you to touch base on just getting started on running a local campaign.
Well, hello, everybody. As Trina said, I'm Eber Phelps. I want to open up by saying that having had a long career in elective office, 18 in the Kansas House and about 10 in city government, I can truthfully say that I think I really enjoyed my time in municipal government more than I did in the state, especially in the last few years. The city government seems to, at least in my experience, we've always had a very good working relationship amongst the city commissioners as well as city manager and staff, and it wasn't me against somebody else or them against me. It was always kind of doing things for the betterment of Hayes, and so it worked out really well. And I think on the state right now, it's just a mess. It kind of mirrors Washington, D.C. So getting on the issue of running a campaign, I'm going to back up here a second. Alan, I think Park mentioned about, getting getting involved with the staff and getting information from them, and also with Kansas Association of School Boards. I would also point out that the Kansas League of Municipalities does a great job from very start to the finish. In other words, they'll get you started on how to run a campaign or give you some tips, and also, kind of set you, I guess, enlighten you a little bit about what to be expected as a city commissioner. You can also get that information locally. One thing is the city of Hayes has been very good, I think, at dealing with candidates that file. And I'm looking at, from when I first ran for city commission back in, I don't know, 1989 or 90, it's different than the last couple times that I've run, whereby the city, provided you with a copy of the budget, open door policy to the city manager, any questions you had, as well as, all the different department heads, whether it be the wastewater treatment plant and, or, the solid waste disposal unit. They all did a great job as far as reaching out to candidates as well as commissioners once they were elected. Now, getting started on a campaign is kind of a little different thing on the local level, on city commission level. One thing is you're probably not going to have to raise a great deal of money, but you do want to get your name out there. I would point out that one of the things one of the other presenters mentioned was going to the meetings. And obviously, in running a campaign, we always say that the best advertisement is free advertisement. And so if you start attending city commission meetings, the media that's covering that, a lot of times will mention that you're there, and they may even stop you on the way out for a comment or two. And so that gets that word gets out that you're really committed to the effort that you're going to put forth as far as running, and that you're out there trying to learn what's going on. The interesting thing I always said about local government is you run on all these kind of main issues like economic development, and of course in Hayes, water's a paramount issue, and infrastructure improvements and so forth. And then you get to your first city commission meeting, and in my case, we had to deal with buying a new snow plow for one of the trucks, and then the reality set in of being in city government, because you cover everything, the big issues, the right, kind of controversial issues, if you will, and then also things like snow plows and stop signs and things like that. But in the meantime, you're setting the stage for where you want your community to be in 10, 15, 20 years. So that's one of the messages that you have to get out there is what you feel is important for the city of Hayes, and what you intend to do as a city commissioner as far as what you're going to support. Running the campaign, though, let's get back on that a second. I tend to wander a little bit, and I apologize. But with the pandemic easing up, in the last couple of years or last year or so, running a campaign, one of the things that's always been something I really enjoy doing was the door-to-door campaign aspect of it. And I think Senator Lee would agree that is one way to, it's a very cost-effective thing to do, is going out and knocking on the doors. People see your face. They can ask you a question if they so desire. And it gives you an opportunity to save on some postage because you can hand them a brochure that, tells a little bit about what you stand for. Now, the pandemic kind of put a damper on that. I heard all kinds of different things around the state. Some people went ahead and knocked on doors. Some people were reluctant to do it. I had a mixed feeling about it. And so I did a little bit of both. But with it easing up, it might be a little bit easier to go out and actually resume that mode of campaigning. If not, you still need to get your name out there and a little bit of information out. And so therein lies the situation of trying to raise a little money. And so you can get some sort of what we call a walking card or a palm card that you can hand out. And also, I will point out that as far as this whole idea of going door to door, Trina has been very instrumental in talking about kind of rejuvenating the whole system of precinct committeemen and committee women. And I intend to be working towards that as well, as far as making sure we have candidates out there that are getting help in all the precincts around town by those committeemen and committee women, helping with the precinct committee men and women, helping them with their campaign. As far as, how much you want to raise, if you're going to just do, say, a palm card or something like that, a few $100s should get you by. You go down to any of the printers, Northwestern printers, or any other printers in Hayes, and kind of get an idea how much 2,000 or 3,000, single fold or triple fold brochures are going to cost. And so with that in mind, what you want to do is maybe kind of set up a budget whereby you determine what you want to do. If you want to put out 50 yard signs in key locations, figure out how much that's going to cost. I'm thinking off the top of my head, you should be able to get 50 yard signs or maybe 100 yard signs for about $300, give or take. And so, and then the brochures, I'm not sure how much those cost, but I'll bet you for $500, you can get a good amount of cards to hand out. And then if you want to get into maybe possibly doing a mailer, you've got postage to figure out and all that. And I will say this, not trying to promote one printing agency over another, but Northwestern Printers always has somebody can sit down with you, map that out. They've got mailing lists for all the registered voters in the city of Hayes and so forth. And that can, really help with that effort. And also give you an idea how much money you might want to be raising. And then, of course, we all, can't overlook the whole idea of social media. So if you're really good at, doing that type of thing, or if you're not, you might want to get somebody, because obviously that was very widely used in this last election cycle that we went through, both locally and nationally. So you want to get on that. I was against the whole idea of changing the school board and city commission elections in November. Many of you recall they used to be in April. Filing deadline was in January. And I always thought that was better because, it's local government, as Tip O'Neill always said, all politics is local. And so when you have those local elections, people could pay more attention to them when it wasn't being overrun by, presidential elections and so forth. Some people in the legislature felt it was more important to have in November. And so what happens is, of course, you've got trying to compete for airtime and so forth with state and national elections as well as the local. I will also point out that anybody, and I've got a couple people that have, talked to me about possibly running for the city commission, still working on finding somebody for the school board, but I will be available I'm retired, and I'm more than happy to, help somebody, with some suggestions, or if they have any questions, feel free to ask me. And um, I will say that, once again, it's important that if you're thinking about doing this, start going to the city commission meetings. Look over that budget, which is going to be kind of foreign to you, but that's what's going to generate your questions. And then also, you'll find that when you announce that you're going to run for school board or city commission, people are going to be very free with their advice, and very forthright and coming up to you and pointing out different things that they think are important or not important. And that's going to be a real test for you as well. You want to be a very good listener. And as you're campaigning, if you tend to listen to people and not debate with them on their front porch, they're going to spread that word around. And so we've got big issues in city government. Obviously, water is a paramount issue, as I mentioned. I was involved with the very beginning as far as the R9 Ranch. Got quite a bit of information on that. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask me right now. If not,
Eber, I have one question for you. How could people contact you? You offered your help to answer questions and so forth.
well, I do maybe like Kathy did. My phone number is 785-623-7575. I have an email address of phelps.eber@gmail.com. And so on
Thanks.
that,
I'll put those in the chat for people.
okay, on that, of course, you can text me as well.
Okay. Hey, Eber, thank you. And everyone that's going to watch this, there's lots of resources and everyone is willing to pitch in. We're going to wind up. I know Deb's got a Royals game to go to, so we're going to have Senator Janice Lee. She's going to visit with us about why to consider running for office, the civic engagement of it all, and that.
Well, it's very important running for public office. It's very important to serve your communities. I actually served more than, let's see, 22, about 40 years in public office. My first office I served was township treasurer. Didn't run for that office, but I got 6 write-in votes, and I served for over 8 years until we did away with our township. We thought it was better just to have the county unit. And then I served 10 years on the school board at Kensington, and over about 22 and a half years in the Kansas Senate. And it is a way to serve the people that you care about, the people in your community. It takes a lot of time. I actually found the school board to be more difficult in terms dealing with parents than I found serving in the Kansas Senate and dealing with my constituents. But it's important to listen to the people that you're serving, to see what their concerns are, to see how you can serve them. As Eber said, I think listening is one of the most important things you can do as a candidate. I had 8 counties at first in my Senate district, and then 10 counties. And I knocked on every door in any town with 200 or more constituents, I and somebody going with me. So I spent 6 months, 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, doing the door-to-door during a campaign year. And what I learned from that was I learned what people were concerned about, and what their problems were, what they felt their community needed, and how better to represent them at whatever level that I was serving. I did not do door-to-door, obviously, for the school board, but I did when I went for the Senate. And we're getting pretty far on time. So does anybody have any questions? Any questions about how it is serving or how it is campaigning? Well, again, I will give you my phone number. It's Deb, if you want to write it down, I think you have it, but 785-476-7000. And actually texting is probably the best if we don't have each other's phone number, because I get so many phone calls. I don't answer a lot of phone calls if I don't recognize the number. But if you text me and give me your name, I will certainly be glad to visit with you in terms of campaigning and issues. And we desperately need people. We need people at the state level desperately now. We're in a world of hurt in terms of what's happening in Kansas.
Thank you, Janice. And we are, as the legislature, gives further tax breaks to the rich, but that's another conversation. I think this has been a really informative meeting. We're going to send this video to our YouTube channel, make a recording. I've got some people that want to watch it. I encourage anyone that knows anyone, even remotely interested, to watch this video or email someone from this meeting, and we will get you the information. Everyone, if you have any comments, let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate everyone taking part in this informative engagement. Thank you.
Thanks, Trina. That was good.
Okay.